Texas!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 65 of 9-1 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, Grace, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Katie.
Hey guys.
And EJ.
Hey everyone.
Today we'll be talking about season 3, episode 17 of 9-1 Lone Star, titled Spring Cleaning. We have a lot of thoughts around this episode.
Yep.
That's one way to put it.
Exactly.
I feel like this episode is a very controversial one in the fandom because there's a whole camp of people going, yay! And there are even more of us going, no! So with that in mind, let's get talking.
Yeah, so we start with Tommy going through Charles's stuff, like his clothes and stuff that's still left over, and she sees one of his like old UT sweatshirts and like smells it and like it still smells like him and stuff. She's like, I'm gonna keep this one. And Julius had walked in at that point and got boxes, and he's like, here, just keep all of them. But like she does, and like she's just like, oh yeah. So she's going through his things, and then like she gives him a pair of Charles's shoes and stuff. And I don't know, this is the first weird scene of the episode. There are multiple weird scenes. I guess it depends how you look at it and what you like, but the total vibe around Tommy and Julius is just, this is not it. Like, I don't like this. I never liked this. The second that in the first time we ever met him and they were about to kiss and we all knew it was coming, I was like, no, please, no.
See, the thing is, my general opinion of the couple is if this wasn't Charles's brother, it wouldn't be so weird.
Exactly.
Especially since, okay, if two people are emotionally, like, maturely compatible, age isn't as big of a thing sometimes. But we do know this is supposed to be Charles's much younger brother, and we don't know exactly how much by, but he seems very young, and so I'm like, I don't know necessarily what to think of that at this time. And also, even if that wasn't the issue, even if him being a brother wasn't an issue, this scene was weird.
It was weird.
Like her putting on the shoes for him, it's giving off weird vibes.
Yeah.
The rest of the interaction was actually fairly okay.
It was sweet, but we got to the shoes.
It was just. That's when I started wishing for the scene to end.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, yeah, I'm just gonna say after that, I have mixed feelings on them because part of me still sort of likes it, even though it's Charles's brother, but it's like tainted by that knowledge, if that makes any sense.
So yeah, I've heard it before where like if a couple's together for a while and like they have kids and then one of them passes away, a relationship will form with the sibling. Usually it doesn't extend to like getting married, but there have been times where it'll happen where a woman will marry her passed on husband's brother or stuff just to keep their kids in the family and that kind of stuff. But it's not, yeah, I'm not sure he's the right person for Tommy, I guess is my thought. Just with what we've learned so far with him about him being like a drifter and a musician, and he just doesn't seem settled and he doesn't seem like he's content with anything in his life. So I don't know. I just don't feel like he's in the right mindset place to be taking on a relationship. So
like their lives aren't going in the same direction.
No.
And if they both keep doing what they love, they won't be going in the same direction.
Right.
So I think ultimately it's not going to work out. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not going to call that completely yet, but I have my doubts. Until now, again, it was great until the shoes.
Yeah.
That just threw me off.
And he invites her to like one of his shows or whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, we get that.
Yeah. So somehow I actually missed that during the watch. And so I was just very surprised at the show later.
Oh, yeah.
I think I was trying to block out the awkwardness of the scene and miss
Probably. Can't really.
I know me.
So then we get the guy that gets stuck in the compactor. This thing. So like this is a whole other confusion because like it's weird. Like so like they make it seem like it's a couple, but like it's hard to say if they were actually a couple just with the way they worded things. And so they're splitting up things and stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is just odd. Like, I definitely got an odd vibe from the scene the second it started. So then they decided to get rid of this owl mug ceramic thing, whatever it was. I don't really care.
Yeah, really.
It was like a cute little statue. That's about it.
Yeah.
My memory.
It was cute.
Which
don't get
I
me
would
wrong.
like that. I would like that inanimate object, whatever the heck it was. But moving on.
So then, like, whatever, they decide not to get it, or they decide not to keep it. And so, like, they throw it down the chute or whatever. And then the girl decides that, oh, like, I actually do want that. It's already down the thing, but, like, of course, it didn't make it all the way down. So he's like, I can grab that. It's not all the way down. Like, it was halfway down. Why did you think you could actually save that?
Yeah. See, that was part of my reasoning that they were like a broken up couple. Because other than my best friend, I can't think of many friends that would like fall down a trash compactor to get a ceramic inanimate object for other.
Yeah, honestly, maybe. Who knows?
I don't. Again, we don't know, but that was just part of my confusion.
Yeah, honestly. And so of course,
I'm just like, why didn't you donate it?
Yeah, why are we? Yeah, like I can understand like moving, or I've had this experience where you don't keep everything, so sometimes you do end up throwing a lot out. But that's like stuff that like you can't like actually bring somewhere to donate.
Yeah, like that could have gone on someone else's. Anyway, that's just my daily complaint. Moving on. Oh, don't worry, we're going to be having a lot more of my daily complaints during this episode, but I'm done.
We all
for
have
now.
a lot to complain about. Is all I'm gonna say. So he gets stuck, and then so they have to get figure out how to get him out. So Marjan is the one to go in to the trash, and Nancy makes a comment like, "Oh, glad I don't have to do that," or something like that.
Sucks to be you, kind of thing.
It was so awkward. Like, I don't know if you guys got an awkward vibe from that, but that whole interaction gave me weird feelings.
See, at the time, no, and I'd have to watch it again to gauge my feelings on it. But like hearing that line quoted back, I'm like, okay, I remember that line, and come to think of it, that was
it was just awkward.
A tiny bit of, I wouldn't have considered it as awkward if it was any other set of characters. Just for some reason between them, it was a little odd.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say that.
No, I agree.
Like, I could see Paul and Mateo saying that.
Yeah.
And then the other one having to go in. But
yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
It's odd.
It was just odd. Maybe it was just the way it was said. I don't know. It was very awkward. And so they go in to like, clear the trash and stuff. Well, Marjan mostly does. And, of course, they're trying to pull him out. And, of course, like, the electrical had already been turned off, but then the compactor turns on, and you're like, uh-oh. So,
Hildy?
Hildy, are you here?
Sorry. I had to.
So it must be, like, on some emergency switch or something. So it's running, and, like, Owen tells Marjan to, like, put her Halligan in there, which works for maybe, like, a minute or two. And then, of course, it just pushes it forward.
And of course, I'm having the time of my life because they make a Star Wars reference.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, they did that. But that made the scene for me.
Right.
And it was a good trick, like an actually good trick.
Right, yeah.
I just love it because I love Star Wars, so.
Yeah, but then eventually Mateo finds the plug and unplugs it. And I'm like...
Just the fact that it's like, you just go and unplug it, you do this. Someone should have plugged it before.
If like Mateo has to figure out where the plug is, that's saying a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like,
no, Mateo's smart. He's a problem solver.
Not saying,
I would expect, no. What I'm saying is that I would expect Paul to sniff that out at hours beforehand, just because he has that sense.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which, can we get some of Paul's sixth sense in here? Like, we have been sorely missing that.
Yeah. We haven't seen it in a while. Is his sixth sense like dying down, or what's going on?
Well, not only that, I just like after Owen tried to hit the emergency stop and it came off in his hand, I would have thought that would have been his next go-to.
This is not a very efficient apartment complex.
Apparently not.
It was very broken.
Though, come to think of it, when you hear of most, not many are.
Yeah,
True.
most of them, it's like half of the things are broken.
Yeah.
Yeah, so once he unplugs it, it's not an issue and they're able to get him out. And it's like, okay, well that was something. That really was something.
So, and not a bad rescue. It wasn't pushing all my buttons though. Like it wasn't superb. It was just kind of a rescue. So yay.
Yay. We love that.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah. So then we get the writer family dinner with Marlene and Stanley. We get to meet Stanley, and of course Wyatt's there. I think that goes without saying.
Yes.
Love this, but like the first thing we have to say about this is Stanley is Troy's dad from High School Musical, and I'm like,
Bart
my
Johnson.
childhood.
I thought he looked familiar, but until I saw
So
that
did
in the
I.
notes, I had no clue.
Yeah.
And I had to go look it up because I'm like, no, it can't be. Even though, of course, I completely trust what you put down, but like I was like, no, it can't be.
Yeah.
And I went in it like, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was...
Dude, it's been forever since I've watched High School Musical.
I know.
I need to do it
Golly,
again.
Say like so
Okay,
long.
so here's how long it's been since High School Musical came out. I just saw a commercial for a movie where Zac Efron is playing a dad.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Last time I saw Zac Efron in anything, I think it was Greatest Showman.
Okay.
I haven't watched a lot with him.
I think he's on a Netflix movie or some movie coming up where he plays the dad to a little girl that like causes fire to happen. Like she can't control it. I was like,
I think I've seen trailers for that.
I'm like,
I'm
he's
not
playing
engaged,
a
but
dad. That's a little like mind blowing because the last time like I feel like I remember him is High School Musical.
It was so weird seeing him play like serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Like so weird. Anyways,
You know what? Though brief moment of appreciation for Zac Efron. He is aging beautifully.
Yeah, he is.
That's it. We're done.
We're done.
Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
Yes. So then Marlene's complimenting Grace in the mail and saying like how Stanley finally cleared his plate or something, and Judd's just like, why are you assuming it was her? And Grace is just saying how like it was all Judd and Wyatt, and it's like why do I feel like that happens so well? It does happen so often, especially like in the show, but I feel like this happens so much in real life because people are just like, she made it, yep, it was her, nope. And she's like impressed.
I just love seeing Judd in the kitchen. Well, okay, I want to actually see him in the kitchen, but knowing that he cooks a lot, it's great.
Oh yes, would love to see it. But yeah, of course Marlene's impressed with it, and Judd comments of like, oh, might be since he's been spending a lot of more QT time with his old man, and Marlene says, well, maybe, well, I hope he continues to follow in your footsteps, and Grace is just like, even if there wasn't like it. That was good.
That was a good one.
I don't think Judd appreciated it because he's like too soon.
Right.
No. But everyone else did.
Oh yes.
That's what's important.
And then we learn that Wyatt gets a text about some internship he was hoping to get this summer, and they want to interview him, but it's been changed from remote to in person. And he's like, I can't afford like a place for a free internship, and like they're asking like Jen and Grace are asking, oh well, where is the company located? And Wyatt says Austin.
Yeah, they're like Austin. Like,
yeah, and I get it.
Where you're sitting right now.
Right.
I get it. But so Judd and Grace like look at each other and like nod at each other, and Judd's just like, well, why don't you just stay here? And Wyatt's like, I don't want to impose. And it's like, I feel like they're not at that place yet where Wyatt will be comfortable like being like, can I stay here? Like, I just don't think they're there yet, even though he's like, he has stayed with them, but that's like different because like not like you had a choice.
Yeah.
And like,
well, yeah, and also just spending a weekend and stuff invited is different than asking for a favor like that. And of course they say yes, but it is like a different level.
Right. Yeah. And like I love how Grace says like how it's his home too and he's not imposing. And I love that because they're like treating him as he is family, which obviously he is, but like a lot of families don't necessarily do that. Like some step parents don't treat their stepkids like their kids. They just treat them like strangers almost.
Right.
So like I love this like how they are. And it's not surprising at all, but like it's just I love it. Like Wyatt like doesn't know. He's like, oh, I don't know if it'll work out, like whatever. And just like saying how he's gonna get him to fighting shape. And I'm just like, oh no, this could go one or two ways.
Right. Yeah. I was like,
I don't
like,
think
when was the
fighting
last time Judd had an interview with any prospective business job?
Never.
Well,
probably.
also you think for a business job, the way that I don't know, knowing the company and what's being expected is good. And Wyatt had that knowledge, Judd did not. But typically speaking, end result was what is typically lacking in a lot of more formal interviews.
Right.
We'll touch on that later, but I'm like,
right.
Usually this wouldn't be a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That we get Owen knocking on Mateo's door in the morning, asking if he wants golden milk. So Owen leaves it and whatever. And this is when we see Nancy and Mateo for the first time, and I'm just like, no. The second we saw Mateo, like saw his face, and the camera's like so close to his face, I'm like, I already don't like this. And
yeah.
I was basically gagging the whole episode. I'm not gonna lie.
You just knew someone was gonna pop up next to him, and we knew who it was gonna be because of different situations. So yeah, I was not amused.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, no, I couldn't take it. But like Mateo's comment of like how the walls are thin, but they're not that thin, and I'm like, are you sure about that? I don't think TK would agree.
Exactly. You weren't living there when Owen and Gwen. So what does Owen and Gwen do that Nancy and Mateo did not?
I don't want to know.
They make comments in this scene where I don't even want to repeat those because they make her cringe too hard, and I'm just like, I don't. If it was anybody else, I wouldn't care, but it's them, and I'm like,
this partnership reminded me of those relationships that you get that start in high school where the popular jock starts dating the geeky girl, but he doesn't want to say anything right away because he's afraid he'll be embarrassed by her, but like wants to date her. And it's like, that's the vibe I was getting.
Yeah.
Like she was the geeky girl. I mean, even
I'd actually say it's reversed. He was intimidated by her.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
So I'd actually say it's reversed.
Yeah.
So he was like the geeky boy in that sense. Even if he was more jockish.
True.
And she was.
That just reminds me when Nancy said to TK when he first started being a paramedic about like,
yep, that's what I was gonna say.
The cool kids table and the jocks and whatever. That reminds me of.
And I would just like to preface that I do not like Nancy in this episode as a person.
Yeah, I agree.
Because how do I say this elegantly? There's no way to say it elegantly. She's a petty bitch.
Yeah. I think she only cared about herself is my main thing.
Yeah.
She did. And I'll have a lot to say on certain different scenes. But I'm just making a note right now that if you like Nancy in this episode, we might have some issues. And you may not want to listen to my comments on her.
Right. Yeah, she definitely the things she said and that way she acted, I was like, okay, this is getting really petty. It was just uncalled for, honestly.
Honestly, she was so out of character. And that's what I hate.
Which
I just started to like her.
Yeah, and I think, and I hate to say this, but I think that comes from just multiple writers on a network because they don't always keep the same character development. Each writer, like each writer would like individually, but then if they switch off for a show, which is I think kind of what they do is like one person kind of takes the lead. I feel like sometimes you lose that character development for an episode or two. So I feel like that might have been what happened. Not like I'm justifying it, but yeah, she was definitely out of character for the Nancy that we learned recently.
Although like she's also so like they try to make her like not so in the background, but like let's be honest, she's a background character. So I feel like it's easy for her development to be messed up compared to like other people. Like
Here's
I feel
the
like
issue.
Other people are kind of more on par.
This episode, they tried to make her seductive, badass, and fiery, and they failed.
Yeah.
And what's sad is she was already a badass, but they ruined it. And they completely messed her up on all seductive points. It just got cringy and a little gross at some points. And she is a gorgeous woman, naturally. So, like, yeah, that I had some issues with that. And all they wound up giving her was a terrible attitude, a teenager's attitude.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And like this
I'm not
whole
amused.
scene. Yeah. And this whole scene just proved like how bad they are for each other.
Yeah.
Like they are not a good match.
See, when you were first introducing a couple, the whole episode should not be on how bad they are for each other. But this is what this episode was.
Yeah.
Right.
So that happened, unfortunately.
I will have plenty more to say later on, but we all will now.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then we see Wyatt getting fitted for a suit, and like Judd is just like telling him like how you have to dress to impress, and like he's giving him advice on all things, including eye contact, which Wyatt gives too much of. It was kind of funny.
Now that is a common mistake when you're first learning eye contact skills.
No, especially for like a shy kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's like hard. Yeah, it's hard to like understand, and there's not much to say on this. Like it was great. Love the dad content as always. This is the stuff I'd rather see than the other stuff that makes us want to gag the whole time. Just saying.
Yes.
Dad Judd, we here for it.
Amen.
Yes.
Yes.
Love to see always.
So then I think this is quite honestly, if you take out those scenes that you guys know what I'm talking about, my favorite part of the episode, I think this is quite honestly my favorite scene. It's the 126 scene. The 126 scene where Paul is finally in the kitchen again. Yes, we love it.
I love it
in a bit. So Paul is making his chili and it's like ready or whatever. And then Paul's just saying, oh, we have sour cream, green onions, cheese. These are like acceptable toppings, I think, for Paul. And then Mateo comes around asking where the corn chips are, and Paul says that he hid them because he doesn't want them defacing his chili with corn chips.
Because most places use cornbread with chili.
Yes, they do.
And I personally like corn chips with my chili.
I've never had that, but also I don't really eat chili because I don't know my opinions on it honestly. But
I like, dunking bread. I like tortilla chips. My favorite is just putting a shit ton of cheese on there and voila.
But so much. I love cheese. Cheese is best on chili. I'm gonna guess part of the reason why is because if you're, especially because of Texas, because I need Marjan makes a comment about like what's with everyone in Texas putting corn chips on their chili anyway.
Yeah, so she probably doesn't get it either.
Yeah, and so I was thinking about it, and I know corn chips are usually made with masa, which is corn flour, and that can be used as a thickener. So a lot of times when you have those watered, like a thin liquid in the chili, the corn chips, when they start to break down in the chili, will thicken up the soup. And I think that's why. That's just me. I'm not quoting anything. that's my own personal experience with cooking. So
right, yeah. I mean, I want to try it now because I want to know what it tastes like. But don't have it when you're on Paul. I think like Paul and TK are like probably the only people in that room right now that like are like, huh? Because even TK is just like has this look on his face like, what?
We haven't even gotten to my favorite part of the scene yet.
We haven't got we're only just briefly So then, Marjan says, like, what is with that? Like, and stuff. And Mateo just like, it's amazing. And Paul tells him where they are. So he's like, fine.
Yeah.
And then Mateo, of course, can't reach him awkwardly. So Nancy helps. And this is when the awkward convo starts because she wants to tell everyone, he doesn't. And
classic soap opera conflict.
He seems to be wanting to lead her on. Like, I feel like he does want to, but he's embarrassed or he's like intimidated. So he's like kind of avoiding it.
He has his own issues to work through, which I don't think it's unreasonable.
Honestly, some people are ready at different times.
Right.
But so you need to respect the other person not being ready.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Maybe you can reach a happy medium.
Right.
You tell like one person.
Right.
So, 2 people.
Yeah.
Now at the firehouse, it would get around to everybody. But, this is where I really start disliking Nancy in this episode because she is pushing it so much with complete disregard for how uncomfortable he seems.
It made me uncomfortable the way she was pushing it so hard.
His discomfort is shining like a fucking beacon. Right. I was like, girl, you are not so obtuse.
No.
Yeah,
that you cannot see how unhappy he is at this. But even if she did, she would take it as like a personal insult, I feel. So
and it's just like, it's honestly like it makes me feel uncomfortable just watching because I'm like, no. But of course, like Mateo's trying to make up every excuse, and he's like, "Well, Judd's not here. I don't want to do it without him." And Nancy's just like, "He'll find out on Instagram or something." And Mateo's like, "He's not on the socials or something like that." And I'm like, "You guys know that that has to do with Jim. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason why they made a comment like that." They were trying to make that like comparison. Then Mateo deflects because he sees Carlos walk in, which is
he's like, "Carlos, my savior."
Oh
that was his general attitude.
It's like, "Ooh, Carlos is here. He can distract her."
Oh my god, it was funny, but also in a weird way. Like, it was weirdly funny because he sees Carlos and he pretty much runs up to him, starts hugging him, and I think Carlos is probably thinking, we've never hugged before,
right?
Like, what's going on? And
his brain elegantly taking the fuck squirt.
Yeah, exactly. And like Mateo's just like, "Oh, what brings you here?" And Carlos is like, I heard there was a code 7 on the premises." And Mateo's like, "What's a code 7? I want to know." And TK's smirk because you can see it in the back of it. Then TK's like, "Code 7 is cop talk for lunch." I love that.
Like, yeah, that was so good.
It was so good.
And then Carlos is like, "I heard there was chili."
I love it.
And then
I wanted to make a crack about donuts, but I refrained.
Yeah. And then Mateo being like so awkward. And Nancy just staring at him, like glaring at him. Like, I was starting to get uncomfortable watching this. And Mateo's just like to Carlos, like, have you ever tried corn chips in your chili? And Carlos is like, "I'm from Texas. I only eat chili with corn chips." And Paul's
like, "Oh, come on."
He's like, "Come on, Carlos, not you too." Yeah. And Mateo just keeps going on and on about it, and Nancy is like, Mateo, and she just keeps trying to talk to him, and like she even still keeps trying to talk to him when there's like some like medic call, and then TK's like, "Come on, let's go, heart attack."
Right.
It's so awkward, like this whole thing.
Yeah, that was God, that was an annoying scene.
It was the only good. Like, if they had taken out the Nancy Mateo stuff and just showed us a whole lot more of Carlos, yes.
Yeah, I would agree that.
I would have taken a whole lot more anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, like, give me some Paul content. Like, we need Paul content in here. Like, please, anybody other than this.
Yeah, just thinking about it kind of makes me feel like just weird. Anyways,
see, this is when I learned that she is a worse than a Marjan pushy.
No, she is. Like Marsha does it out of good love sometimes, even though we hate it.
She does it because she means well. I don't always like it because I don't like pushy people at all. But oftentimes I can see that. But this was like out of such self-interest. Right. And completely unfair to the other party because there's a whole new set of boundaries when it comes to that. And when someone isn't comfortable with something, you don't start taking out on them. You start learning what's wrong. How can we fix this? Do you need to wait? I'm okay with waiting. And you know what? If you're not ready to wait, go fuck someone else who's more ready, okay?
Yeah,
exactly.
Just to be crass, okay? But
no, definitely.
If that's such a problem for you, you ain't meant to be together.
Exactly.
Please shoot.
Go off now. Yes. But I would like to say the situation gets better, but we all know it doesn't. So then we get a 126 hang with so much. We love seeing them play Catan though. That's like I want to play it.
I want to play. I never heard of it.
To teach you guys how to play it. I love this game. This is one of my favorite games. Sorry. Yeah.
No.
And I want so anybody who can get the gif of TK saying, but Catan is spicy. And Carlos saying, in this house we play Catan. I need those badly.
Innuendos, anyone?
Yes.
I mean, if I knew how to make a gif, I would totally do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're on Tumblr. I just have to go hunting for them. I just don't go on Tumblr, but
everything's on Tumblr.
Yeah. So yes, we love that. And like they're like, Mateo, don't roll 9, like whatever. And then like Marsha's just like, nobody trade him. And like Paul thinks there's this Nancy Mateo alliance, which to be fair, there probably was in the past.
Before shit got weird.
Yeah, shit got real weird because Nancy was annoyed with him, so of course she didn't want to trade him, so she does to Marjan instead. And Mateo didn't obviously like that, and so they start going back and forth.
It was like the way that he was like, I thought you didn't have work to trade, and she's like, no, I just wasn't going to trade it with you.
It was so
which technically is how the game's supposed to be played, because you don't want to trade with certain people, but if you have an alliance, it's a little different.
Yeah. If you have an alliance, and if you're doing it not from a game perspective.
She was totally doing it for selfish reasons.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like Carlos is like, the whole point is to withhold, and like, yes, but they were going back and forth and they were talking in code. Nobody knew what they meant, but they were talking about them. So it was just so it was so weird. And
because this is her way of punishing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like she's like, you don't want to talk? Well, I don't want to do this.
And
like this to this.
Which is again,
he was upset.
I'm gonna put this in a perspective that some other people might understand. This is like somebody being forced out of the closet in a way. Nancy's basically forcing the issue of Mateo coming out. Granted, it's coming out as they're in a relationship, but she's keeps dropping hints and trying to get him to come out when he's not obviously ready, and she's not taking the hint, and that is unacceptable.
Sometimes this does happen in LGBTQ relationships. One person's out, the other person isn't. The one person wants to spread it to the world, the other person's scared of rejection, what other people will sound out like, sometimes scared for their life depending on what happens, and the other person might press the issue.
Exactly. And there's reasons, but so then that's something you have to justify with yourself. Like if you choose to get into a relationship with somebody who maybe isn't in the closet or is in the closet, you have to make the decision, like, are you okay with that or are you not? And if you're not, is that relationship worth it?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So in Nancy's position, so Nancy's situation, she keeps on, Mateo. And I think the more she presses him, the more he's like pulling him in on himself because he doesn't want to share.
The more he's getting pissed off, which honestly, I would be pissed off too.
Oh, I would be so pissed off.
I would tell her to F off, if I'm being honest about this situation.
And that's what he gets upset. Yeah. He gets upset, understandably, honestly, and he leaves. Mm-hmm. And then Nancy just has the gall to sit there, like, when they're all like, well, that's fun. She's like, no clue. Just the way she said that, I'm like,
I want to slap
Nope.
her, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I did want to slap her in that moment. And this is why I hated her in this episode, because she made me do a lot of things that I don't typically want to do to the main cast. Like slap them, shake some goddamn sense into them, get them to respect other people. We don't typically have a respect problem, right?
Yeah.
No, this is a problem this episode.
Yeah. I love how a couple weeks ago, this is like the quote unquote scene. People were like, oh my god, they deleted that, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, this is why you should not freak out about things when you see like pictures. It doesn't mean that it's deleted.
Oh, that's right, because the pictures that were of this scene were taken down and people thought that it meant it was deleted. Is that what you mean?
I don't know what it was. I think
If that was the case, they probably just released it too early.
I don't know if it was pictures or what it was, but people were talking about it and being like, oh my god, this is deleted from this episode. But like, I remember seeing the pictures and I'm like, okay, the same outfit, so I obviously wasn't in that episode. But I think people were hoping we get it for a future episode though, so I don't think it was a lot of people freaking out. I just think some people were, and it's like, chill, just chill. Literally. But then we get Tommy and the girls going to Julius' show. And like he's so talented. Like I loved that they did this. But then of course once they come back, they're kissing and I'm like, oh no. No. And like Julius is like,
I knew they'd do it, but I'm still not happy.
Yeah, Julius is like saying how crazy he is. Like this is crazy or something like that, and Tommy's like, well, I'm crazy, and I'm like, what? No, Tommy, I hate this so much. Like I don't even want to think about it. And like bad vibes. It just gives me bad vibes. Like yeah. And then like the next morning we see her going to Charles's grave, which they haven't ever showed us, so I liked seeing this. I just wish it were, I don't know, like she kind of updated some on the girls or whatever, and then she starts saying how like Julius is staying with them and like how she thinks that he brought him to her or them. And I'm like, I don't know. It was sweet until we got to that, and I was just like, I don't know how I feel about this.
See, I've heard this mentality before. I don't think mentality is the right thing. I've heard this before. Like, for example, if I recall correctly, when one of my aunts lost her husband, like she was like the only way she's getting remarried was if she like felt that my Uncle Dan or something had chosen that person for her, kind of thing.
I've heard
that storyline before. I don't think it's invalid or anything. I don't think it's bad, but in the circumstances, this particular couple, it feels a little odd.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what this is. Like that's definitely not this. Like, yeah, it's just no. So then we get TK and Nancy at the 126 getting ready for their shift. This is, I don't know. Get asked Nancy like, oh, like, are you feeling better? And she's like, when was I supposed to feel worse? And TK mentions about like last night how her and Mateo got into it, and TK says how it was kind of weird, and she's just like, oh, I think we're just over it. And TK is over it, like all confused. And part of me was like, because there was that moment where you thought, oh, maybe she'll say something, and I'm like, she didn't. I was just like, okay. And so then she's just like, Catan, like, why don't we ever play like Yahtzee or categories? And I'm like, because those are boring games. If I'm being honest, like, you can't say anybody that any person their age is just so excited to play Yahtzee or categories. I haven't heard of those games since I was like 10, if I'm being quite honest. Like, I obviously knew they existed, but like I haven't thought about them since then.
Yep.
And Nancy's like, it'd be good to spice things up, and she leaves, and TK is just like, Dan is spicy.
That's the gif I need.
I love that one.
Also, I just want to say that that's the shirt TK had on in 201.
Yeah, I know.
From the this kisses that were, so that survived the fire.
I think it was at Owen's.
It had to have been.
Yeah.
We all know that
Or
they
he has
make
like
comments.
or he has like a bag, which that was, and like I'm thinking, to go bag, change of clothes for after work kind of deal that happened to be in it or something.
Mm-hmm.
Though that probably would have burned at the fire unless it was in the car. So
I think it just somehow, or he just like rebought the shirt. He was able to
Possible.
rebuy.
I feel
the
like
shirt.
he'd do that.
Yeah, this is a nice shirt. I need this again. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So then we get the mom that's like trying to leave a bad relationship, obviously. And of course, one of the kids like leaves a toy behind, so she says how she's gonna get it. And so she gets out of the car, but she doesn't park it, so it's just in reverse. So she lets it run her over to get it to stop. And like she's all distracted because the husband calls her asking why she took $4,000 out of the bank. And here's the kids and asks like why they aren't in school and starts questioning her and this and that.
You can tell immediately why she wants to go.
Yeah. Like once you hear him on the phone, you're like, okay. Yeah, which we kind of already had an idea of where the scene would go when we would see it, and so obviously they have, they're trying to get her out, and then like TK and Carlos, which I love this, they were on the sidewalk with the kids. Like anytime we see both of them with kids, I'm like, yes. And like she says how like he's coming. And because obviously she knows like once he hears that the kids aren't in school, he's trying to get home and stuff, especially since he knows that she's leaving with them. And of course like they get her out, the husband gets there, and like she says how he hits them, he hits her, and like the husband's like, oh, she's just delirious. And so like Carlos asks her like if she's ever reported any domestic abuse, and she says how she was scared. So of course Carlos has to let the kids go with him because he's the father, and no abuse is reported, so it's like the law, which yeah,
sucks. You can tell he
sucks.
doesn't want to do it, but
no, yeah,
legally
exactly.
there's no until they can open an investigation into claims. She would have to file a report anyway. It's just an entire mess. There's no precedent for her words, and it sucks. But this is how it is at this time.
Right. Yeah, and then of course like that happens, and so then Owen yells, and Tommy's just like, Owen. Marshawn's like, Cap, and TK's just like, Dad, because they all know. And then Owen asks him if these kids are even his because they don't look like him. And he said like something about a white beater too, which yes, Owen. And then the guy punches him, which obviously was like the whole point the whole time, because he's trying to get him to punch him so that way Carlos can arrest him, and so the kids don't have to go with him. And Carlos
and like you can tell everyone's expecting the guy to get punched,
right?
But Owen's learned to do tricks.
Owen's MO recently, so
Owen's been working on himself, and we gotta applaud him for that.
Right.
He has made
Plus,
progress.
he knows that him punching the guy wouldn't do a damn thing.
No, he'd be in jail.
Him in trouble.
Yeah.
He knows he'd be the one in handcuffs. He's not dumb.
He's only doing it because he was trying to save the kids.
Yeah. That wouldn't help.
And I'm like,
situation. Can you imagine how Carlos having to arrest Owen in front of TK?
Oh God.
I'm not saying it would be.
I can already hear the fans.
Exactly. It's not even TK and Carlos you have to worry about. It's the fans you have to worry about.
And
so
overdoing everything.
And then of course Owen's just like, officer, would you do me an honor of arresting this man for assault? Carlos is like, with pleasure, and arrests him.
And you can see scene. TK kind of like smiling.
TK is so proud. Yeah. And I mean, I can't blame him. Like, yes. Like,
I'm proud of him too. Like, dang boy, you did it.
We're all proud.
And honestly, the guy was stupid as fuck for taking the bait.
Yes, he was. I didn't really peg him to be smart.
Oh no, but I don't peg any abusers as being smart.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
This scene was a little too close to home for me. Just because I have a friend who literally did that. She was in an abusive relationship, had 2 sons. Thankfully, the sons were not of that guy. They were with a previous relationship, but she had to get out and she had to like slowly like start packing stuff in a storage unit and like just disappear with the kids. And like it was, he was abusive and stuff. So like I had to warn, this is the friend I always warn about Lone Star. I was like, don't watch it unless you're prepared. So just hit a little close to home for me. Just it reminded me of like the situation she was in. But yeah, I'm glad Owen realized like, oh, well, if the guy's arrested for assault of a firefighter, then he can't get the kids. So then, you know, protective custody of the kids can be taken. And then until the woman is, you know, healed.
And see, even then, what he does helps further down the road because now the guy has a history of violence.
Yep.
Of reported violence.
Well,
hopefully they're able to scrounge up other stuff later on, but this will help the woman later down the road trying to get completely out of that.
I couldn't remember. Did she have some like facial bruising or cuts on her face?
I don't think so.
I only remember her being very pale, and I think that was because of fear.
Yeah.
So I don't think she did.
Yeah.
However, if abusers are experienced enough and they've gotten away with it long enough, they do it where clothes would cover it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say they don't ever hit the victims in the face or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would expect any of that to likely be under clothing.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and we kind of got that a little bit in I-1 with Patty and like her story because she
could pull the cardigan down over.
Well, yeah, she wore a lot of turtlenecks and stuff.
Right.
Moving on, we got Judd bringing Wyatt to the interview in a full suit, and like, yeah, he looks good.
He looked smart. Okay.
He looked great.
Good.
He looked like how you should go to an interview you're trying to get. Just saying.
Yeah, which I will say,
especially if it's like for a corporation, like an actual office kind of job.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, Judd's giving a pet talk and like Wyatt goes in and he sees how overdressed he is.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's the worst type of thing.
You don't
either seeing how underdressed or overdressed you are compared to other people. I hate it.
Which
it makes you so self-conscious.
And like everyone's looking at him weird. And see, here's the thing. Like this is literally a high school internship. If this had been college, he would have been dressed perfectly and everyone would have been dressed like this, but he's in high school. And like nobody, like that's the thing. Like nobody expects you at this age for this type of thing to dress that professional.
Now, I would have still said getting a dress shirt, nice pair of trousers, some nice shoes, that would have been fine. I do think the suit was a little overdressed, even though, again, corporation, big business kind of deal. Yeah, he's not bad off. Like,
no, but I don't think that was the vibe they were going for, is the thing, which is why everyone wasn't dressed that way. But if you wore like a nice button up and like a nice pair of pants, like I don't think that would have been as bad.
See, I feel like companies should have like a dress code. Just many do have dress code. What I'm saying is like for interviewees, because so many of them don't know what to expect in dressing, and dressing can be such it's a first impression.
Yeah,
and it's so easy to get wrong.
Oh yeah, dressing up and, you know, wearing any kind of like appropriate attire is showing that you actually thought about this interview and didn't just decide to go in your skate clothes, which, you know, is okay, but it's the wrong situation.
Yeah, it's just because they're so like they're younger, so like it's not like there's different expectations at different times. And of course, the guy interviewing him asked him if somebody died, and I'm just like, yeah, that's.
See, I had a problem with that guy because
me too.
He seemed entitled.
For one thing, anyone with any sense of professionalism is not going to humiliate someone in front of a bunch of their peers. That should not happen. It does happen. It should not happen. Also, he walks out with a girl talking about hitting him up on Discord.
So weird.
And I had an issue with that because I'm like, that is no professionalism, no sense of.
I don't think this place is
separation.
professional.
No,
honest,
but
was
like
not.
it felt like it should be. That was it, and I don't know. I had an issue with the whole Discord moment. But even beyond that, like, save your smart aleck comments for in the one-on-one interview. That's it.
Yeah.
I had an issue with the guy.
Yeah. Then we get the setup hang at the loft. And I'm like, the second Nancy walked in, I was just like, kill me now. Like, and she's like, why is there no food or music? And Mateo's like, because it's trap. And so like she's like, we're not playing categories. And Marjan's like, we were never playing categories. And Paul said, and we never will. And Carlos is like, in this house we Catan, which yes, love to see it.
I still have to buy the
Yes.
game. Yes.
Yeah. And they awkwardly make them talk about it, and they finally admit to it and saying, oh yeah, like it was so weird. Like yeah, it was just so odd. And then like everyone's faces was just like, oh. And like, okay.
I'm like, please tell me someone worked it out before then. Someone had to have worked out they were sleeping together.
Like, Paul should have known by then. Like, come on.
Paul's off his game,
Oh, yeah.
apparently.
He has been.
I feel
It
like
was the heart attack.
maybe it's too much. Maybe it's too much to read into anything. But like it's just like, I feel like if this had gone on longer and they hadn't said anything, I think people would have been cluing in. But I think because it seemed like pretty recent, I feel like nobody really, they didn't have time to like figure it out. And like, you know, we noticed that Mateo's very insecure, and like he's insecure about like height because Nancy's taller than him. And like the thing is like through all this is Nancy is being such a bitch and making it seem like it's all Mateo's fault, but it's like she kind of almost put them in this situation because she had like let you know, been like, okay, you're not ready, like I understand that, like it's okay. No, that wouldn't happen. But like, and then like she was making all the comments and made things tense, and like it just made like, I was never gonna appreciate any of this, but like her making things tense made it harder to even accept anything. I don't know. Like I feel like Mateo does have, like, I can understand like insecurities, because like a lot of people do have, like especially men have these types of insecurities, and I feel like I would think Mateo would have, like, I don't know, just certain insecurities. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Mateo. Like not even
So
bad way.
My mom was 5'11" and my dad was 5'7". When they married, she lost an inch when she had a bunch of kids, but still taller.
Oh yeah, I know plenty of men that are super insecure.
Exactly. And it is literally, when people have a real thing about it, it's called, I think it's Napoleonic syndrome, because Napoleon was short as fuck. And so that's where it comes from.
Right. Yeah.
I had an issue with this though. Well, let's be honest, I have an issue with the entire situation.
Right.
But I had an issue with that being made the reason, because to me it felt so high school-esque. All this just felt like a stupid teen romance. And like the whole thing about height, you knew she was taller than you this entire time. This was not a surprise, honey.
Yeah, but I kind of understood like his reasoning, because he didn't really think about it until they started like seeing each other, I guess. Like I guess he never like realized it, which kind of makes sense.
Like I do get that. I just think in this context, to me, it was a weak.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I feel like
excuse.
I feel like this is probably the most real
weak
insecurity.
reasoning.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably the most real insecurity they could have given him. Because I feel like if
And it's a completely valid insecurity.
Yeah.
But like just in this situation, I was like, I don't know. I would have liked something a little bit different, but it's okay. This is Mateo. This is what his insecurity is, apparently. I think it also
Yeah.
just comes from me not liking the situation.
Yeah, there's
So.
that too. I agree. And then Nancy makes a comment of how like she's always been taller like in school and then like been taller than everyone she's dated, even when she's wearing 6-inch heels. And I'm like, I have a few thoughts. I'm like, okay, yes, love to see it. Like, yeah. But also like I feel like it was almost tainted in a way because of like this whole
The attitude.
situation. And I almost felt like a lot of people are excited about it and like, you know, feel excited for it if you want to. But like I just feel like it was so tainted and Nancy was being such a bitch this whole episode that like doesn't make me excited about any of this. And honestly, I a lot of people aren't gonna like this, but I'm gonna say it because this is how I truly feel. I honestly feel like they're gonna put this like this was in this episode, and I honestly like it's gonna be a fact that they forget about, and we're not actually going to see any of it. Like I honestly feel that way.
I have thoughts on that. And of course, we love to see, like, I'd like to hear the words to get like complete confirmation, but we do basically have confirmation that Nancy is multisexual of some sort. I say that because there's a lot more variety than bi guys,
Right.
okay?
Yeah, exactly.
No offense to anyone who's bi out there. You're completely valid identity.
Right.
However, there is a lot of multisexual identities.
I feel like
I know. I have another one.
right.
So that's like I felt like they only made her that because the fans wanted it.
I agree.
Which that taints it. And then she was such a bitch in this episode. And generally, I hated her character so much in this episode that any other time I would have been elated to hear that they have another queer person on the show.
Right.
At this point, I just wanted her to shut the fuck up and I didn't even care. And I hate that that's where it went to because I wanted to enjoy it. I can't.
Right.
I can't. It's spoiled.
Yeah.
And
Like-
so, yeah.
Yeah, like it didn't even come off strongly, honestly, in this scene. Like it was kind of just like, okay, yeah, that was sad. Like, cool, yay.
I'm not saying they should have made a big deal about it, but I also am a little sad it was a throwaway line.
That's what I was gonna say, because I feel bad that it should not have been a throwaway line. It's not a throwaway line. Like it's if that's true, like if she's really like you said, multisexual, like that's not something you just gloss over because that's important. It's important to have identity on that series. And so we already have a trans character. We have 2 gay characters that are first responders. Let's have another one. And for them to just like throw that in there real like slyly, it's like that's not fair to the community. That's my thought.
Yeah. I just have a feeling they're gonna forget it that they even said that because they've done that before with other like in Iron One, they've done that a couple times where they've put something out there and then they're like, oh, we never said that. So I feel like that almost might happen. I have a weird feeling about it.
And again, I wanted them to say it in different wording because this one leaves a lot of room for them to back out, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, exactly.
By saying, oh, it's just worded weirdly and they meant something else, that kind of thing. I wanted it to be straight out said that she has dated girls or people of other gender identities. But they only made a reference to 6-inch heels.
Yeah, and I'm like, mean so many things, honestly, if you think about it.
It could honestly, even if it doesn't make any sense, my first thought was like, she could even be talking about herself, but that doesn't make sense because she's already tall. Like, it was such a confusing line. So I want it to mean what most of the fandom thinks it means. I feel like it was supposed to mean it, but I'm like you, Katie. I am worried that they're going to throw that away.
Yeah.
And it's tainted. I can't enjoy it. So I just would have rather them not bring it up at all.
Honestly.
Which is sad. Because when am I ever sad to see queer representation in the show? Never. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
This was this was a terrible episode. No, I'm not going to go that far, but for this, it was not that great.
There are some questionable choices made in the writing of this episode.
Yeah. Agreed. So then we get Grace and Judd in bed. And Grace knows that Judd is not sleeping. He's just staring at the ceiling because he's thinking about the whole Wyatt thing. Because obviously, you know, after after that, Wyatt's just like, no, I don't want to talk about it. Let's just go. And
Right.
he's like, oh, I had him in a full suit, and like I didn't have him go into the interview being himself and this and that. And Grace just like saying, oh, like I thought he looked good, and just like, oh yeah, he did, but and then like Grace says how he was just trying to help, and Judd's like, but I didn't, but I'm going to. I love them.
Right.
Like, could we have seen more of them? Like, I know we did get a
Yes.
little bit, but still.
Right.
Just that's what I wanted. So then we got Tommy and Julius again, unfortunately. This is just how I think I honestly think nobody actually likes them like together. I honestly do. But so like Tommy's just like saying how she really likes him, and Julius says how he's in love with her, and I'm like,
That got quick.
That-
Quick. I
that-
mean,
yeah, that's a little much, but yeah, and he has to leave because if he stays, he'll screw it up. And Julius says how he's not trying to fill Charles's shoes, and like this whole Tommy Julius thing should have never happened. There should have never been one kiss, let alone multiple.
Could have done so much with a sister and brother-in-law relationship.
Yes, exactly. Like that's
And I'm
what I thought
sad
we were
because
getting.
I don't feel like we often see that without romantic or sexual tension. And they could have done so much, and they didn't. And again, I already said a lot of how I felt about it, which is very in between. But like in this, I'm like, what was the point?
What was the reason exactly?
Honestly, they should have called this episode Insecurities.
Honestly, that would have been honestly a good title, because that's what this episode was.
Right? I did kind of like the spring cleaning, but it only really applied to the first part of the episode.
Yeah, Tommy and then the couple.
That's it.
Before the episode aired, I was like, that's a dumb title. Why would you name it that? And then I saw the episode and I was like, okay, see why they went that direction. But still. Anyways, yeah, that was weird. A lot of people were like, why can't we ever get like a male-female friendship on a show without it leading to being like without it going romantic? And I'm like, exactly. Why can't two people just be friends?
We see
Like,
this all
literally.
the time in 911. We see this. I don't think we see this all the time here, because if you think about it, they have managed to avoid the trap that people want of pairing Marshawn up with one of the guys. They've managed to keep a good friendship. And they better fucking keep that, because I'm not going to stand for it if they don't. Okay?
It's so dumb.
They literally, I feel like Marshawn and Paul, or Marshawn and whoever the fuck they would have done, would have had better chemistry than Mateo and Nancy.
I gotta
The
agree
couple
there.
feels like couple feels like appeasing a minority of the fans. The buy felt like it was just to appease fans, and it's hard to say because I know that if they gave us, let's say 911 gave us Buddy at this point, it would be to appease fans. But I'm okay with that if they do it right.
We've wanted Buddy since for so long. Season 2, since the start.
Since Eddie first showed his gorgeous face and abs on her screen, I wanted it. Okay. So I'm sorry, I just had to give his abs a moment of appreciation.
Okay.
Is 8-pack there? Moment of silence. Okay, moving on.
He likes to be called 8-pack. That was like a legendary line from Bobby.
Yeah.
Yes. I put that on a shirt and give it to Eddie.
Right. Oh, gosh.
In any case, only some of the times when they do stuff with the fans does it work out though, because then the writers aren't into it and they either never bring it up, they never really follow through on it, or they just completely, screw it up. And that's just, I don't know about the relationship itself, but I really do feel like any multisexual identity would be two P's, and that's just sad. So I could go around and around saying the exact same thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And it would just be the same. I'm not happy. I'll just end with that. I'm not happy.
I'm not either. So then our last scene is Wyatt and Judd showing up at the internship building. And Wyatt is just like, oh, like I don't know how you got me another shot, but thanks, Dad. And just like, oh, I didn't, but I'm going to. And so Judd goes inside, and the security guard kind of was like, oh, go on, like lets him in. And the security guard goes outside and is like talking to somebody saying how like there's a gas leak. This is when I'm like, why would you let him go inside when you know there's a freaking gas leak? Like you should be evacuating that building.
Letting more people into it. I
That's-
know. I was
Exactly.
like, what?
That doesn't take
Yeah.
much common sense. That takes zero common sense, honestly.
Like,
Anybody-
possible chance of explosion. Maybe we shouldn't have people in the building. Just
Not
thinking.
to mention,
What a concept, huh?
not to mention, like he had said,
New
that-
idea.
Yeah, not to mention that he said that somebody like had a headache and like all these people had complaints about it.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think you wouldn't be like, oh, here, sir, that's on crutches, go into this building. Like that makes total sense. And like, of course, security guard is like, hold on a second. He knocks on the window where at the truck where Wyatt's sitting. It's like, this is a loading zone, you need to move in an hour. And he's like, oh, I'm just waiting for my dad. Yeah, about that. And then he leaves. They go down the basement. Of course, the meter thing is like reading at 90 ppm and climbing.
Which is not good.
Yeah, the guy's like, we shouldn't be even be down here. And so
And they
then-
keep going.
No, the explosion happened like right that second. So even if they had tried to get out of the building, it wouldn't have worked.
Well, I think it was because they opened up the door. I think it added oxygen to the gas and then it just kind of combusted.
Oxygen is a food to many destructible materials. Fire is one of them.
So
Gas
then-
is another.
Yeah.
Even though gas can also combat by spreading out thinner so that like it's not
Yeah,
quite
that's
as
true.
potent. It depends on the gas, it depends on the chemical, it depends on so many different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then, the building explodes. We know Judd's inside. We see the building crumble from the outside, or at least part of it. And Wyatt gets out of the truck, and then it ends with him, like, you can tell he's dialing 911. And that's how it ends.
Yeah. That was a crazy ending, but I mean, I expected it.
Good
I just-
ending.
Yeah.
Good ending to a questionable episode.
It makes me want to like, I'm excited for next week just to see like, what's this going to bring up?
Yeah. I did not like this episode very much.
I didn't hate it, but I don't dislike any episode, but I really didn't like lots of it. Cause like we did get like that, that one scene that was great. Those couple scenes are great with like Carlos.
We got any part that did not involve Nancy and Mateo was good.
Oh, and Judd
But the
being a
problem
dad.
is that they dominated so much of the episode that it spoiled it for me. And so I'm not saying I hate the episode or even that it's a bad episode necessarily, but as far as Lone Star standards, this was a bad episode because usually they
I
put out
agree.
exceptional episodes. And we were all talking when we were watching on Tuesday. We like never put a 911 episode ahead in our ranking of the Lone Star episode that week. For me, it's either parallel or Lone Star is higher. For you guys, it's typically Lone Star is higher. If I remember.
Yeah,
Today?
pretty much.
All right, this week, 911 is far better.
It
Honestly,
didn't take much. It really
it didn't take much, and that's what's sad. Like they really let down their own standards with this one, and that's what makes me disappointed. Because you go in, you expect to get a damn good episode, and you walk out going, "The heck had just happened?" So yeah, I have an issue with this one. And I'm just very disappointed. They could have done so much better, and it was not great. So definitely loving the Wyatt and Judd bond. We love seeing the 126 hangs. Can we have them without drama, please? Please. And whenever I get them, it's either TK hears about his mom dying, or now it's Nancy and Mateo, or some crap like that. So I don't know. The end left a good cliffhanger for next episode.
Right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't doing it for me. Not a great rating.
No, it was not great because of Nancy and Mateo. And like we all knew going in that we wouldn't like it, but I did not think it would be that bad, if I'm being honest. Like it was
I didn't expect. Oh, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say that like I thought, I don't know what I thought, but I did not expect it to be this bad. It was atrocious.
I didn't expect them to destroy Nancy's character in one go. I didn't expect them to completely fail and possibly declaring another character LGBTQ, and for them to do a crappy job of it if so. Like, but what's sad is I'm not really going to be looking at Nancy the same way after this. Not for a while. Not until she gets her act together again and goes back to this episode Nancy.
I agree.
Because I liked her before then. I genuinely was like, damn, this girl is a badass. I like her. I didn't care about her before. Like, she could live, disappear, crash off the face of the earth. I didn't care. I liked her. Now I don't. And it's what I'll let you guys talk about.
I wasn't a fan of Nancy in this episode. To be honest, I've never really been a fan of Nancy. I mean, I liked her. She's just, to me, not like a top 5 character to me, so I haven't really paid too much attention to her. But yeah, she really, her character just bombed last. Like, this episode was terrible.
Right.
And I love Mateo. I think he made some questionable choices too, and how he handled the situation. And that's probably coming from an immaturity level of maybe, because we don't know exactly how old he is. So we don't know if he's like early 20s, if he's a little older. So is it, has he had a lot of relationships? So there's a lot of,
I feel like he has it, to be honest.
I'd actually like to build on that because I put a lot of what happened on Nancy, and a lot of what happened is on Nancy. But Mateo does share some in it because, granted, when I say this, I don't feel like he felt he could talk to Nancy about it. But he should have tried to say that he wasn't comfortable with it straight out. Not try and make excuses, not try and blow her off. Because it's not very fair to her, even if she did handle it in a bad way. It's not very fair to her. He needed to talk to her about it. And I agree, he's matured so much since the start of the season. But all along, he's very immature in love, I think, or any feelings like that. Mm-hmm. I just don't get the impression that he really has had serious relationships or one's looking towards a more serious end. And without those, it can be really hard to cultivate emotional relationship maturity. So he definitely was lacking some of that. Communication was terrible here. And communications is one of the foundations of a relationship. So I don't see them thriving. But sorry, I just wanted to pop in on Mateo. However, EJ, I apologize. I will let you continue speaking.
No, it's okay. I liked certain scenes in the episode. I think the Carlos and the chili and the Code 7, I think that was a great scene.
That made the episode.
That was
that was
good.
Amazing.
I know a lot of fans were pointing out that when Carlos first got close to TK, he put his hand on his shoulder and kind of tucked it under his arm, and I thought that was really cute, how people were pointing it out. And even I guess when Carlos is walking back to the table and Nancy was like, yo, Mateo, dude, or something like that. And even Carlos kind of looked back what the heck's going on with you two? So yeah, but I like that scene. I like that, seeing some of the 126 hangs, even though there's some awkward situations in it. I love seeing Judd and Wyatt's relationship. I feel bad that, his plan initially backfired, but I don't think, I think Judd was in the right in this situation. I just think Wyatt was in a not so great situation with this whole job or internship interview type stuff. So, it was not one of the best episodes, but yeah, I was really disappointed with Nancy and her attitude, and a little bit on Mateo's part too. He should have done a little more to set some boundaries and say no, I don't want to tell people right now, and just flat out. But then Nancy should have just been honored that, not kept pushing, because that was, when people start pushing me, that's when I start shutting down. So I relate to Mateo in that way, because I think that's what's starting to happen with him.
Yeah, if I don't want to do something and you force me to do it, I'm not gonna be happy about it, and I'm also gonna be very just like I am gonna shut down, and I am gonna just be frustrated.
Yep. At that point, you can't get me to change my mind. You may have had a chance before, but if you try and push me to do something, that I'm going to become so set in my ways that you could tell me that the building is on fire, and I'll probably go, no, it's not.
Exactly.
Just because I'm
just because you're so frustrated. Yes, I agree. I totally
it could be falling down around me, and I'm like, nope, you're not right.
Nope. Yep. Nope. Nope. Yeah, like nope. All the way out to the fire trucks. Yeah. Well, hopefully we wouldn't go that far, but yeah,
no.
I get it.
I'd like to think I have a little bit more common sense.
Yep.
But occasionally that is my stubborn brain. Just like, nope, nothing you say is right. That's official for 24 hours. Nothing you say is right until I calm down.
Right.
Until then you're wrong on everything. So yeah, prime example of digging your heels in, people.
Yes.
Wear cowboy boots. They're more efficient for that.
Oh yeah.
And spurs.
So let's talk about fan thoughts for this episode.
Yes, what are fan thoughts?
TJ thoughts.
What's a TJ
first?
thought? Yes.
Lone Star wasn't a fan of Mancy.
Mancy?
Mancy?
Hey, it has a ship name now. Okay.
It's a terrible ship name.
I said that because like TJ and I have been
even
joking.
Mateo is better. Like Mateo is better than Mancy.
I don't know what the actual official ship name is. I don't want to know what it is because I will not be using it. I will be calling them Mateo and Nancy because they do not deserve a ship name. Anyways, that was the middle.
Hopefully they will not last long enough.
Okay.
Anyway, more TJ thought.
And never will be the same. Love seeing the Wyatt and Judd moment again, and it was funny with Owen during the first emergency. Yes.
Respect.
Other ones, so good. Love that. I liked it. By Nancy made me super happy. TK and Marjan are it says TK and Marjan. But I'm very confused by this. TK and Marjan are mechanically woman love woman, man love man solidarity. The Nancy Mateo stuff surprised me. Like the dynamic was completely different. Still don't like them being together, but I liked how Nancy was written in the dynamic. Tarlos crumbs were super cute. I love the stick sayings and the emergencies. Nancy and Marjan, but banter was great. Nancy and TK friendship scenes were great. The episode just gave me a lot of good Nancy content. I'm only laughing because we literally shit on Nancy this whole episode. And
I don't regret it. I'm just saying.
I don't regret it either because that's how we feel, and we're always gonna say how we truly feel. We're not gonna sugarcoat anything. If you've been listening,
oh no, especially me.
If you've been listening for any amount of time, you guys know we don't sugarcoat anything. We say how we feel, and that's how it should be. And I just feel like, all opinions are valid, obviously, but
we're all entitled to our own opinions. I feel like this is one, in particular, where not everyone's gonna agree on.
I feel like we watched a different episode. That's how I feel.
I don't feel like we shit on her. I feel like we acknowledge that she's flawed and that she was not a good person, and I think we called her out on it. I don't think that's bad. I don't think we actually bashed her at all.
No, but I feel like compared to this, like if you're seeing somebody that says, "Oh my god, I loved it all. I loved everything," and then what we said, it looks a lot different. That's what I really mean.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. In that way, yeah. I don't know. I just,
Yeah, like I don't think we watched the same episode because I did not get that vibe at all. It made me uncomfortable, but I'll leave it at that. And I really wanted to know like what people thought would happen in the finale, so I had to ask that. play a Tarlos engagement, but also I think Wyatt is going to decide to live with Grace and Judd no matter what happens with the job search, and also Judd and Owen will be okay. Okay, yes, but I don't know how. I don't think. I mean, I don't necessarily think that he's gonna decide to live with them just because of the job, or not. Not even if the job internship works out. I don't know. I can't really see that happening. What I could see happening is them, like, possibly him living with them for like the summer or something like that,
Yeah, I could see
being
a summer.
mentioned. Because, like, and I mean, you never know, like, Wyatt could decide that, like, he's older. He might want to live with his dad more.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
Even just as a get to know period.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially, like, since it seems like his mom goes, out
She
of town a
travels
lot.
Yeah.
And stuff. So who knows? I think they're a Tarlos proposal or Tika and Carlos having important conversations. Maybe Gwen and Owen flashbacks. I don't know what exactly, but maybe Owen is gonna have a health issue because of being in the building and stuff. I don't know. Or Julius is gonna go, hopefully. I think we're all hoping that a little bit. Julius and Tommy are gonna end stuff, hopefully, because it's fucking weird how good that described it perfectly.
Absolutely.
I know he's in the next episode, but I think that will do it.
I'm kind of hoping. I wouldn't mind seeing him on an occasion if it was just like see the girls. But the thing is, they would never keep it at that. So
just let him
I'm
go.
good.
Let him go on, do his thing, because that's where we need to get. Because honestly, I can't. I actually can't. So let's talk about the promo. This was like a lot, like, compared to some of the promos. So Wyatt's calling 911, saying how I think a bomb just went off, half the building just came down, and we kind of see like the 126 responding, and we see like Mateo, and then we see like the building, and we see like Judd inside, two people beside him, which didn't look familiar. And then Owen says, like, I'm going in. Death is a hazard of this job. And then, like, what he says continues later, but we see him inside, and then we see a second explosion. Looks like Owen, he obviously goes down during this, like, we all know that. And then Owen continues to do, saying how, like, we're not guaranteed a thing. And then we see Mateo duck or whatever, and then we see TK, Mateo, Paul, and Marjan's faces. And Marjan saying, please don't die. That's obviously just taken from the episode with Paul and his heart attack, because it's literally the same sound, the same everything. Like,
same phrasing, yeah.
They just want to trick us. And can't trick us.
No.
It was so obvious. And then Owen being brought out, and like the end's gonna happen no matter what we do. And like, they really want us to think Owen is like dying. Like, no, you can't trick us.
Some people would be very happy about that.
That's exactly why he should die.
Exactly. He's not going to. I'm positive that he isn't.
No. Yeah.
Knock on wood, just because I don't want to jinx anything. But still valid.
I don't feel like they're gonna kill him off this season.
Season.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, and I having watched numerous series with Rob Lowe in it. Rob Lowe is kind of an MO of being in a series. I know that Owen Strand was written for Rob Lowe in relation to another show that I think Ryan Murphy had created a series for Rob, reached out for Rob to be the main character, and then Rob never got the information, so he never got a chance to audition for it, etc. So this episode or this show is kind of like written for Rob. Rob has a tendency to spend only a few seasons in an episode.
4 seasons, I think, is what it is.
4 to 5 seasons, and then he's like backing out. He did that in Brothers and Sisters. He was in there for the 1st through the 4th season. His character got into a nasty accident at the end of season 4, and when we came back to season 5, he was killed off. So I'm like, I would hate for TK to lose another parent, especially having just lost Gwen.
That's why I don't
I don't
feel
know.
like they're gonna do it.
They're
It is
not.
My
not
only hope
this
is
season.
that they won't do that because of that.
It would be terrible. Like, if they were gonna do it, they would do it in a time where it wasn't like, no. Also, like, I get it's a pattern and that's happened like for other people, but I'm also like, that doesn't really mean anything, even if it is
People do
a
have
pattern.
patterns. People do have patterns. I'm trying to someone else come to mind where they only stay for a certain. I don't remember off the top of my head, but there's someone else I was thinking of where they also stay in only for a little bit.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep.
She never does sequels. So just the fact that they managed to even double a little scene of her in for Mamma Mia 2 was like astonishing.
Right.
But she never does sequels.
Right.
So they killed her. Spoilers. They killed off her character for Mamma Mia 2.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. So.
Oh, I haven't.
Well, spoilers for anyone else. But
Thanks.
like I already said before, I said
That's okay.
Sorry.
It's been out long enough that if I haven't watched it, it's my own dang fault.
It's been out for like
Pretty much.
multiple years.
I think it came out 2018, like 10 years after.
I saw it was in the theaters. That's the only reason why
So
remember
like pre-pandemic when we could go to a movie theater.
I was just about to say, I'm pretty sure that's pre-COVID that it came out.
It was. But no, I love that movie, but I know some people have
Same.
issues, but that's beside the point. I just love it. But Meryl Streep is one that I was like, yeah, never does sequels.
Yeah.
So people
that's
people have
understandable.
Some sequels suck.
Yeah.
So I get why people don't want it. But
Yeah,
it does kind of suck for fans. Like in a little bit of a selfish way, just saying it here,
Right.
It kind of does suck for fans because we get really attached to characters.
Yeah.
And then they die.
Yes,
It's just really sad.
I don't believe that Owen is leaving or Rob is leaving the series because I know a lot of people were panicking. Oh my God, Rob's going to do another series with his son. He's not going to have time. Well, yeah, like the Netflix shows are usually filmed in like a couple of months over the summer. So I really don't think it's going to impact his shooting schedule with Lone Star.
Right.
Also,
yeah.
Lone Star's coming
all
back.
People all the time do multiple different projects.
Right. And Rob
hasn't Ronan filmed 2 movies at least while he has been on Lone Star?
Well, Smiley Face Killers was actually filmed prior to Lone Star, and I think also the other one. It was a long time between production. And
they were both filmed I forget what year, but like I think Smiley Face Killers was filmed in 2018 or 2019.
Yeah, it was like right before.
Okay, so but like at the same time, it's not uncommon for people to do tons of projects at once.
Right. No, a lot of people will
just
do,
sometimes they just
projects.
have to juggle their schedules.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the business.
Yeah, it is. And if you want to keep working, because a lot of people don't like having downtime. Because if they, if you get to downtime, you get into things you don't want to get into. So that may be why he's doing it. I don't know. I just know that Lone Star is not getting canceled, nor is 911. I know we haven't gotten the official announcement that it's renewed, but it's a pretty good chance that since they're like the number one scripted show on like Monday nights, I really don't think Fox is going to cancel them.
Also, can people please stop saying, like we're just saying, can people stop saying it's getting canceled? Because on all the websites, which are pretty accurate, that say likely to renew, definite renew. It's been that for months. Also, the upfronts are this, the date of the finale, which means it'll get renewed likely Monday or Tuesday.
Even 911, which has had a struggling this season. It's had good ratings. So people need to cut it out with the everyone's gonna die shit. People need to cut it out with the we're never going to get renewed or canceled. People need to cut it out. Just enjoy the fucking show.
Yeah, and I understand it because I understand that shows that are doing well sometimes get canceled, but this is not the case.
Right.
Yeah,
I can guarantee
sometimes
it.
It's completely random out of the blue. Why the heck? So granted, there is that, but it's like crying over spilled milk before the milk was even made by the cow.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's a good expression.
description.
I love that. I really do.
That was good. That's great.
Okay.
I really like that.
I did too.
I'm putting that on a t-shirt. Oh,
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
I was gonna say putting the cart before the horse, but that works too. Like
There's
Grace
so
is
many
one
things
better.
you can say. I love I love that.
Yeah.
Also,
thank you.
why is
Occasionally have a brainchild.
also why is Judd being hurt when he literally has a broken leg?
I know, right?
Poor Judd.
Is it just
Yeah.
me who doesn't think he gets hurt all that badly?
He might not. He was in the
He would have
elevator.
still been in the elevator. He has a
So
couple tons of metal
my thought
protecting him.
is that he's in like that little room, and so maybe it hadn't gone up, started going up yet when
Yeah,
it collapsed.
There's two civilians that looked like helping him. So
Yeah.
I assume that like he got help, and it's gonna be good. Like I cannot
Oh, yeah.
like
I'm
I don't-
looking forward to it.
I don't want the finale to be over because obviously like
Right.
no show for months.
Yeah.
But I am excited to see like what this is.
Dude, I ain't even registered. Wow, I sound so Texan. Dude, I ain't even registered that we aren't going to have more show after this.
Mhm.
Not for a few months. I haven't registered its finale yet.
It came up quick, or it feels like it came up quick.
It did.
I knew when it was. I was like,
Mhm.
it's coming up. It's 4 weeks away. It's, this and that. But then I was just like, oh, it's soon. And I was like, now it's like,
Time flies when you're having fun.
yeah, that's for sure true.
I'm amazed.
Yeah,
We're on what,
it does
episode 60? What are we? 65? 64?
65.
65.
Mhm.
I'm amazed we're at 65. It doesn't feel like we've been going that long.
It does. Okay, you know what the thing is it feels like it has been that long, but in another sense, it feels like it's been forever.
But in a good way.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we've been friends for a lot longer. And,
That's what I mean.
oh yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like it's only been just about like 2 years.
I know.
Like it feels a lot longer,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Crazy.
Doesn't at all. It's weird. But we love it.
I'm excited. Grateful for our listeners. Grateful for everybody's opinions. Thanks for sharing like content when you guys just giving us your thoughts on the show. I know we did kind of totally opposite on some of those comments with Nancy, but like you're right. Like we have a right to have our own opinions and thoughts, and that's what we're sharing.
See,
I'm just happy that 99.9% of the time the three of us have similar thought processes, so we all kind of understand each other.
Yeah.
Either we agree to disagree, or we think pretty similarly. I think we can balance each other out.
Yeah,
because I feel like I can have some of the more extreme reactions sometimes, and I will absolutely rant. And you guys indulge me, and that's nice. But sometimes we're able to, I feel like, even each other out a little bit on perspectives, and that's nice because we each have different ways of looking at things. So for the fans out there, we do love hearing your thoughts. We may not always agree with you.
Yeah.
But like it's nice to, I think it's nice to hear these thoughts in a way that isn't just over social media, because social media can get very heated. And so having people think about thoughts that they're putting in to like go on here, I think the language might be a little clearer. People are maybe explain themselves a little bit, which helps us understand if we don't necessarily share the view. So, just because we don't always agree doesn't mean we don't appreciate it. So definitely keep those fan thoughts coming in.
Always. Yeah.
Life would be boring if we all agreed anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even if I could do without some of the excitement, life would be boring. So, nonetheless, thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Anchor, and we are also on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and everywhere that you can get your podcasts. On iTunes and Spotify, please rate us and leave us a review. It would mean a lot to us. You guys can follow the podcast on our socials at 911LS Roundup on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, you can always join our Discord server, and the link will be in the description of this podcast and also in our Instagram bio.
You guys can follow me, Katie, at Philiptarlos on Instagram and at ForLoveTarlos on Twitter.
You guys can follow me, Grace, at RonanRafa911 on Instagram and at SheepGirl31 on Twitter.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram and Twitter. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.